And from those experiences, I came out and I said, okay, I love God, but I don't know where the church fits.
What's going on, people? This is Shad, and today I'm out in beautiful Richmond, and we are here at the Life Church Richmond. And so today I'll be sitting down with pastor of the Life Church, Mr. Vernon Gordon, and we're going to have a good conversation about what it's like to actually build a church, the market behind the church, his backstory, which I know is going to be crazy. And we're going to take a little tour to see all that, he's been able to build up here in Richmond, Virginia. So just follow along on this journey today, all right? Today, I'm sitting down with lead pastor of the Life Church, Richmond, Virginia, Mr. Vernon Gordon. How you doing today, man?
Man, I'm feeling good, man. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem, no problem. So I like to start all these off with kind of like how I came across you, right?
Okay.
So I was shooting content at church in Portsmouth, Virginia called Grove.
Yeah.
I'm there pretty much every Sunday. And you were actually preaching at one of the youth conferences that they had. So you killed it. This was probably about 2 or 3 years ago. You killed it. And then it seems like after that, everybody I know that's from Richmond felt like they was going to your church.
Okay.
And my guy Rivers, he does praise and worship, right?
That's my guy, yes sir.
Rivers is my guy. Rivers is a dope dude. So yeah, ever since then, I just kind of been following the moves, and I've been seeing the growth of the church. And it seems like you are very, what's the right word? Aggressive in how you kind of move, and like things is moving like quickly, it seems like.
Well, worse things have been said about me, so I'll take aggressive.
Right, very aggressive. So yeah, ever since that, like once I kind of started this recent season of interviews with Rob, I had to get you up here. So
appreciate it, man.
So I made my way up to Richmond, and here we are.
Yeah.
All right. So for the people that don't know you, in your own words, who are you and what do you do?
Man, so my name is Vernon Gordon. As has already been stated, I have the privilege of being the lead pastor and a visionary of the Life Church here in Richmond, Virginia. My most important roles and responsibilities are I'm the husband of Ashley Gordon, my high school sweetheart. I'm the father of 2 beautiful children, Madison and Jackson, who are 7 and 6 respectively. And I like to tell people I'm a lover of people. I love bacon and all sports. You hear me? Sports, bacon, and a good conversation were created by God. That's me, y'all.
I feel you on the bacon. Yeah. I can literally eat bacon like all day, every day.
It goes with every meal.
Everything.
Facts.
Night, midday, whatever it is.
No matter. I use it as a snack.
I do too.
Yeah. I'm like, I just need a few.
Yeah. I'll make like a whole thing of bacon and just kind of snack on it throughout the day.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can't beat it.
I gotta get on.
Can't beat it. All right. So first real question I usually have is a icebreaker question.
Okay.
So if your life was a movie, if it was Vernon, what would be the three songs that would be on your soundtrack?
Ooh, 3 songs. All right, here we go.
And these are the songs that mean the most to you throughout the duration of your life. So
man, so I'm a huge music fan of every genre. So this is really tough. I should have got this one in advance. Okay,
yeah.
So let me start off with there is a song Encore, Jay-Z and Linkin Park.
Oh, you go with that version?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to Jay-Z and Linkin Park version. That was the first one that kind of caught my attention.
Gotcha.
But I think just that blend of sound and music. We may get to this, but I come from just a very unique backstory, and I think when I first heard that kind of those sounds come together, as well as just the classic hip hop and lyricism of Jay-Z, it just did something for me that I'll never forget as a kid. So that's one. Oh man, I think another big one is I'm a huge fan of an artist called PJ Morton. And PJ Morton has a song called "Don't Ever Leave." It's a classic of his.
Okay.
And so for me, it's just I will use that song because I want the people in my life that I love the most to never leave the journey. I think that no matter what you accomplish in life, no matter where you go, no matter how far you arrive, if you get there and you've left the people that mattered most to you, you lost it all.
True.
And so don't ever leave, PJ Morton. One more. Man, it'll have to be maybe Cole, Be Free.
Okay.
I think, while that song is like clearly not the greatest song he's ever released.
Right.
Really? I'm sure when I leave this interview, I'm gonna be like, man, you could have came up with 3 better.
Yeah.
But I will say this, particularly what's been on my heart about the times that we're in now. I hope that my life, and I hope that my whatever work that God allows me to do helps bring freedom to people, not just freedom in the physical life and in the natural, but also freedom in the spiritual, and also freedom in their mind, freedom in their finances, freedom in their relationships. And so hopefully that's a marker of my life. All I want to do is take the chains off. All I want to do is help people be free. So what's going on? Come on in.
So what you got for us today, man?
Welcome to the Life Church. Super excited to have y'all here today, man. And it's been an amazing week, but we are getting ready all around the building for our youth night happening tonight. So things are being flipped. So I'm gonna show you the side that people don't see.
All right, cool.
Here's our sanctuary. You've already started pulling up some of our chairs. You see the hoop coming out. All right, sometimes every now and then I gotta step out here and remind them. I'm saying I still got some buckets in me, 2 or 3, only 2 or 3. But this is our sanctuary. One of the things that we wanted to be very mindful of when we bought this property, something we call Focus on the 167. We say the hour we gather together on Sunday morning is great, but it's the other 167 hours of the week we want to be connected to people. So we didn't want to have just a traditional sanctuary. We wanted something that had a lot of versatility. So we pick up the chairs and move the cameras, as you can see, and we open it up, man. It's a gym. And if you turn around this way, you see what a lot of people see on Sunday. Without the lights on, it looks a lot of different. But got our stage, we got our LED wall. It's been great, man. So this is our sanctuary.
So what was this building before y'all bought it?
So a church used to own it, but it was a charter school.
Okay.
So this was actually like where games got played, and the bleachers were here for their team. All the back hallway was classrooms, and then we owned the building next door, which was a preschool. So yeah, man, we're excited. We wanted something where we could be connected to our community all week long. And so we're very grateful God blessed us with this.
So what is the Vernon Gordon backstory, or origin story? I feel like everybody, like when I look at like Batman, like everybody, all the superheroes have a story.
Yeah.
So what were the moments in your life that made you who you are today? And we can just dive into that.
Sweet. Great question. So I was a kid who was full of energy. I grew up, my dad was a Marine. My mom worked human resources for a living. I have a younger brother, about 5 years. And we were just what I would consider a typical family. Grew up in a church that my grandmother started in her garage. That all kind of framed me.
Yeah.
Everything took a turn at 10 years old. Diagnosed with cancer.
What type of cancer?
Osteogenic sarcoma, which is an aggressive form of bone cancer. Okay. So it is actually one of the most aggressive forms that really spreads to your lungs. So at 10, I'm diagnosed. I'm in the middle of an AAU baseball tournament. When I break my leg, they tell me you got cancer. I play baseball, basketball, football, active, and then all of a sudden my life has changed forever. They tell me that, we're going to have to amputate your leg from the hip down. And by the grace of God, we were able to figure out another option. And
not to cut you.
You good.
Just to hop in. So at 10, when you told this news, what were like some of the first things that you remember thinking about?
Oh, I'm going to die. Yeah, I'm going to die. I mean, everything I heard about cancer was death.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 10.
Yeah.
And so life is over. This doesn't seem fair. Even honestly, where's God at?
Right.
Where's God at in all this? And I would even, go as far to say one of the challenges and one of the things that this is foreshadowing a little bit that got me into pastoring was that there were some well-intended Christians, who said some things to me that actually hurt my faith in that season. Didn't help it. They would say things like, well, God did this to you for a reason. I'm like, I'm 10. I can't process that.
Right.
That doesn't sound good,
True.
And he's going to take this test and make it a testimony. I don't want to hear that right now. I'm 11, I'm 12, and I'm not in school. I'm missing out on friendships. I want to hoop. I want to, run like every other kid. I'm losing my hair. I'm falling apart physically, it feels like. So that was a major part of the story. And it really transformed my life. But as I was going through that experience, several times throughout it, they said, hey, there's nothing more we can do. It's quite likely that you're just going to have to deal with the fact that you're probably going to die. We'll figure out what's going on. So 3 times they had reached a cap. 3 times, it didn't work. Things weren't working as planned.
You're doing like chemo and all that? Or?
Chemotherapy. I did chemo for 3 years, 13 surgeries. I had surgery almost every year from 10 to 22.
Oh,
right?
Really?
Yeah. So I have a total knee replacement, a rod, prosthesis. It's all metal in my leg from my pretty much the top of my thigh all the way down to my knee and my right leg. So for me, that was, talk about origin. That really changed the course of my life, my identity.
Right.
And I will say this though, what I came out of that experience feeling was, after 3 times thinking I'm gonna die, 3 times thinking there's nothing more they could do, each time, man, I had a praying family that was like, nah, God's gonna do something, God's gonna do something. And from those experiences, I came out and I said, okay, I love God, but I don't know where the church fits. Because
break that down.
Yeah.
Break that down.
So what confused me as a child was, man, people got time to play golf for 4 hours, but they didn't have time to visit the sick kid.
Okay.
Or people had time to shop all day, but they didn't have time to sit with the sick kid. Or people would make some of those well-intended statements that they had heard in church all their life, but didn't think about the 10, 11, 12-year-old kid can't process that. And so what it did for me is created somewhat of a resentfulness with the church for a season because I felt like, man, okay, God has saved my life, but the church conversation that I was having was, how does the church fit into this faith that is now forming? Okay. And that really became a part of my journey and trajectory to really ask God the question, where does your church fit into your world? And I'm happy to say I found a beautiful journey in that, but that was definitely a turning point in my theological journey.
So, all right, so when you got to college, like I said, at 22 is when you stopped having leg surgeries, right?
Well, no, I've had surgery since then, but I kind of was getting surgeries regularly.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so when did you decide that, you know what, I think I want to be a pastor or a minister, what have you?
Yeah. So I told you, man, as I said, I left this experience and I was really wrestling with my faith, right? Like, not just what have I been told, but what do I believe?
Gotcha.
And I left with a confidence in God, but was still finding out what I believed about the church. And I had some great experiences engaging with some people on my journey to help bring that into reality. A couple of things happened for me. Number one, I would say I was able to go to seminary, and a lot of people go to seminary because they want to be pastors.
Isn't that the only reason you go to seminary?
And you would think, right?
Okay.
I went to seminary, and in part, I wanted to find out, how do I grow my understanding of my own belief system?
Okay.
And what I really saw was a beautiful picture of what the church can be. When we look at the Jesus of the Bible, right? Loose percentage here. 90% of his miracles don't happen in the temple. They happen in the neighborhood. Right? John 1:1 in the Message translation says, and behold, the word became flesh and moved into the neighborhood. And so when we look at the life of Jesus, like, he's consistently with marginalized people, disenfranchised people, broken people, battered people, misrepresented or underrepresented people. And he sits with them and he engages with them and he transforms their life. Not only do we see this in Jesus, but we see this then throughout the rest of the New Testament. A people who carry his message, who are not the majority. They're actually less than 1% of the population at the time. Right. And they're going around saying, hey, we are going to places where nobody else will go, touching people that nobody else will touch. So we can bring hope, love, peace, joy, kindness. And I think when I saw that, I said, that's something I want to be a part of.
Right.
That's what I want to represent. Never thought I'd be a pastor.
Yeah.
But I want to represent that. Number two.
So what did you feel like you wanted to be?
A Christian.
Okay.
Right. And I think that's the crazy part about it, right?
Right.
Like, I personally feel like sometimes people aspire to roles in the church.
As far as job wise.
No, before that I wanted to be a physical therapist.
Okay.
Physical therapist, I want to do exercise science. or I wanted to be an athletic trainer.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
I wanted to be in that, I had a long medical journey.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is the part of my medical journey I resonated with the most.
Gotcha.
Physical therapy or athletic trainer.
Okay.
But yeah, man, so I went through that experience. And then I after short order, man, once I started to see that, and I was able to connect with some organizations that were doing outreach and missions. And once I started to see the impact you can have on people's life beyond the four walls of the church, I said, I want to bring, and here's the phrase that I did. One of the things I started doing was I started going around by invitation of the hospital to newly diagnosed patients' rooms.
Okay.
And they would invite me to say, hey, this patient has been newly diagnosed. You're young. You just overcame this. Will you go to their rooms and just meet with them and their families? And when I saw how hope can help people overcome their greatest obstacles, I said, for the rest of my life, I want to be a communicator of hope. I wanted to be a communicator.
That's going to be the name of this episode.
Before I wanted to be a pastor.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where the passion for ministry came from.
How many times throughout the week were y'all like, you know what, we need to run a little 2-on-2 or something out here?
Well, this is how we solve real issues on our staff. If you talking cold hard cash, we might as well play a little OUT to solve the problem. You know what I'm saying? Here it is. Don't put it.
Yeah.
Don't put that up there. Here it is. One more again. Here it is. This is the coat. It's the coat. The coat messed me up. Let me take the coat off real quick. Put this on the video for the people one good time. Watch this right here. There it is. Boom. That's all. Put it up.
Okay.
Just the coat.
Yeah, let me give a little shot of that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, here we go. Let's see what he's talking about. Welcome to the Life Church.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Life Church.
I do got on these big Doc Martens, so
Come on, we all get a mulligan. That's a bucket. Man, you almost had a shooter's touch, but you ain't on home court. Short version of how I became a pastor, because that's probably the next question, right? But how'd you actually get into it? Man, a guy named Dr. Micah McCrary. He bumped into me one day, introduced by a friend. He was a pastor of a Baptist church in Moseley, Virginia. And
where's that at?
Yeah, right. It's on the fringe of Richmond. It's in the county.
Okay.
And he literally said to me, he said, man, there's something in you. You're going to be my youth pastor. That's it. No broad story. No crazy. I hadn't applied.
Yeah.
It wasn't on my radar. He was like, you're going to be my pastor. Now, I was doing music at the time.
Okay.
So I was doing Christian music, singing, writing, but I wasn't planning to be a pastor. And yeah, he said, you're going to be my youth pastor. And to this day, man, I'm beyond grateful for him and his wife, Jackie McCrary, who literally saw something in me and said, you're going to pour into this next generation.
Okay, so all right, so when he said that, have you ever preached?
I had preached a few times before, but they were awful. I mean, I'm talking about awful.
Yeah.
And when I got there, I was awful. I remember one time, man, I remember one of the first sermons I preached. And, family, when you grow up in church, family be like, all right, platform service, we're going to let you talk. All right, when you grow up in church, they let you talk, they let you speak.
Yeah.
And I had a couple instances, like maybe 3 or 4 opportunities where people were like, hey, I want you to come share at this church. And I was like, sure.
Right.
So I had done some things.
Yeah.
I would by no stretch of the imagination call myself a preacher at the time. But I had preached. I remember one time I preached a sermon, and I got so excited about my illustration, analogy, and I went to my grandma afterwards. I was like, Grandma, how I do? She was like, baby, great talk, but you ain't ever opened up the Bible and you tell nobody no scriptures. I said, I don't even know if that counts as a sermon. That's a motivational speech. So, yeah, man, I would say they just saw something in me, man.
Right.
And from what they saw in me, they said, there's more in you and the next generation needs what you have to offer.
So at what moment did you decide, you know what, being a youth pastor is cool, but I kind of want my own thing? Or how did that transition go? Yeah,
I'd been at Spring Creek for about 5 years, and amazing people, about all stretch of the imagination, by every metric and measurable. There was no reason to leave.
Yeah.
My family was happy, my wife and I at the time, and we had great people around us. But the simplest way of saying it is God, just came to me one day. And I'm not one of those people who casually throws out things like vision. But I remember sitting in the parking lot at Gold's Gym, and I was about to go in for a workout. And I remember just kind of praying, and I saw a clear vision where God gave me 2 paths. And God was like, hey, you can stay here in the tradition that you're in Baptist tradition, and you will help people, you will serve people, and you will honor people.
Yeah.
Or you can go this route. You can start something brand new, and you're going to represent something to a new group of people that's needed in another way. And you're going to help people, you're going to give people hope, and you're going to encourage people. And I think this is often misunderstood. I personally, there's this book called Holy Play that changed my entire perception of this. God doesn't always give us just one path.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes God says, here's your options,
Right.
and I'll be with you whichever way you go. But one option made me feel excited. This option, though, brought me to tears. This option to start something new.
Why tears? Yeah.
Multi-generational, reaching people who look like me, next generation, thinking about young families, thinking about the challenges the church was facing with innovation. It brought me to tears because I said, that's not something I'm seeing enough of. And that's the opportunity to be a part of something that can shake the foundation of the world.
Okay.
And if I can be a part of something like that, that's amazing. And here's the other thing I knew. That scared me way more than that one.
Gotcha. Because that's kind of like the safe one.
I was already in that.
You're already
world.
doing that. Yeah.
I knew I could do that.
Right.
That scared me. But it scared me in a way that I felt like God was giving me an opportunity to exercise my faith in a way that not many people get the opportunity.
And doing that would probably be doing something that's a lot bigger than yourself at the time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what did those, I wasn't going to say what the first couple of years of that looked like, but yeah. What did the first couple of years of you walking on that path look like for you?
Man, scary. And let me say this to anybody building anything. I think a church is an institution or an organization to build for all the right reasons, naturally. But if you're building a business, if you're building anything, let me tell you this. The first 2 years were took a lot of faith and a lot of patience. It's a story that everybody doesn't know. My wife and I had one kid at the time when we decided, and my wife was an accountant. So she had ran all the numbers. She was like, all right, this is our safe way to do this. We're going to put this money to the side, 6 months, blah, 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 cool. And we had come to an agreement, like we're going to do this for 6 months, and then we're not going to quit on it. But if this thing doesn't work out, I'm going to go get a late night job. I'm going to go stock at Walmart or something like that. We announced that we're going to do this to our church and we're leaving. I want to say it was about 3 weeks later, we found out we're having our second kid.
Yeah, because I know you said they 7 and 6. Like, that's not really...
Whole financial plan was jacked up.
Throw that out the window.
So it was like, whoa, God, like, did I hear you right?
Right.
So the first couple of years were scary. I will also say we got going, man. And I'll tell you the other thing that people under-communicate about any type of faith endeavor, entrepreneurial endeavor, is that you often overestimate the support of the people you already know. And you underestimate what kind of support God's going to bring once you get started.
All right, let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people in business or pretty much anything always lean to like their family and friends for support, which is cool. But sometimes we, and I throw myself in that boat as well, can also be frustrated when you don't receive that support.
Yeah.
But there's also times when people that you don't know for nothing support you wholeheartedly, fully. They might donate money, donate their time, whatever the case may be. So break down, what you just said.
Well, we overestimate what we already know, right? So it's going to be my family, it's going to be my friends, it's going to be these people. And everybody say it all sounds good to everybody before it gets going.
Yeah.
So for us, what that looked like was we had a plan. Okay, if these people do this, these people do this, we're going to be good. Some of those people didn't show up. Some of those people were inconsistent. Some of those people decided to move away. But what we underestimated was the type of people God would bring into our life. We've met more people. I often say the most beautiful part of this journey for us has been the people we've been able to meet and do life with.
Yeah.
People assume Rivers Taylor and I have known each other for a long time. We met 6 months into the church.
Oh, really?
He's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
We didn't know each other before we started.
Oh, okay.
So we underestimate what God's going to bring towards our life. I think we also, to your point, we don't recognize that anytime you start something new, you're also building a family tribe with it. There is a tribe that's going to attach to it because they attach to the mission. You don't know who necessarily needs that mission yet. And that's not revealed until you start.
Okay.
And that's what we underestimate about just taking the step into that which we're afraid of, that which gives us insecurity, that which God has purposed us to do, is that when you take the first step, you're going to find out there were more people waiting on your mission than you ever anticipated. That makes sense?
That makes all the sense.
So it's like, man, I took the step, and now I'm recognizing, oh, you've been waiting on this. You've been waiting on me to drop this podcast and video on this YouTube series. You've been waiting on me to launch this business. You've been waiting on me to start that church. You've been waiting on me to build that skincare line. Why? Because your assignment is connected to my need.
Yeah.
Right?
I've seen that happen so many times. Like last year, I tell the story a lot. Like last year is the year I decided to go like all in on what I was doing. And before, people just saw me as like a videographer, but I wanted people to know me for like marketing and like really helping people. So last year I like decided to go all in, and people that I've known for years like, yo, I'm following whatever you got going on, because you decided to like really go after what you said you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that makes all the sense in the world to me. So
and it doesn't mean that people who already knew you won't support you.
Yeah, most definitely.
You know, I think it's just a reminder that don't underestimate all that is going to be attracted to you. When your mission and vision are clear, and people can become a part of a tribe to build what you have, what you've been assigned to build. So, never fails.
Okay.
Never fails.
All right.
So one of the things that people don't see is during the week, right, there's a lot happening, maintenance to the facility, stuff like that. So this hallway, we are taking some stuff out, getting it done, but this is our kids' wing on Sundays. So you can see here, we have our kids' space coming together. We just put new floors in.
Okay.
Borders are getting put in. And this actually is pretty cool. This whole side of the wall is being renovated to become a mural of like Richmond hotspots. So like right around here is gonna look like a Richmond food truck, right? And it's gonna go all the way down, but you can see the work is started on this side. This is like a Richmond theater. So we're nowhere near done, but it gives you a sense of where we're kind of headed and kind of the general space. And this is one of our children's spaces.
So when you say children's spaces, you mean more so like children's church or?
Yes, but they do a lot of different things in here. But our children come back here on a Sunday morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Looks good.
I'm one of those big people who believes that momentum is not just something you await, but you can create.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
So for me,
just by moving, you're going to create some type of momentum.
So I've always felt like, what are natural opportunities to create momentum? So I think not only the building process of momentum, but we also have always sought to think about how do we create organic momentum. And three of the ways we kind of always really think about that in every year are Easter. Now, here's what's crazy. A mentor told me this a long time ago. We believe that Easter is not just a time to celebrate the risen Savior, which we do. It's also a time to cast vision.
Okay.
So we cast vision in Easter. So people know exactly where our heart is for the future.
Yeah.
Another time, of course, is end of every year. We want to be radically generous. We gave our largest amount away, single Sunday amount away for the last couple of years, and that's been $55,000 in a day back to our community.
Yeah.
But we don't do that for momentum.
Right.
But what that does is reminds people who we are. Again, consistency and identity creates trusted brand, and I think all those things create momentum. And then the last thing is, man, like at least once a year, we're always trying to think of opportunities again, just to to reconnect with who we are. Year before last, we dropped an album. This past year, we did something called Trunk Fest, where we had a whole, a large part of the city come out to serve their kids around Halloween. Always just looking for opportunities like that too, to reconnect with who we've been called to be.
Gotcha. Okay, so before we get into the how-to phase of this conversation,
hope I ain't putting nobody to sleep so far.
No. You said some very powerful things that I'm still thinking about right now. But I'm big into marketing. That's what I do. So how do you feel like, I know you said you do, events and these particular things lead to momentum in your church.
Yeah.
But outside of that, are y'all doing anything different to market the church?
Okay, I thought you were going to keep
No,
going.
go ahead.
So I think there's probably three things, and I'll start with the one that people least expect,
Okay.
which is native marketing, just conversation.
Yeah.
We used to say this phrase when we first started. We don't say it as much anymore. We say people still trust people more than they trust posts. So we are really big on how do we continue to keep people having something worth talking about.
Okay.
There's a statistic out there for churches in particular that said 90% of first-time visitors at a church in the year, I think it was 2018, were all the result of somebody's invitation.
Okay.
I think about it like when I was in college, and I think about club flyers.
Yeah.
You be in a party, you come out to your car, you
Flooded with flyers.
With flyers. I'm like, well, how many times have I literally saw a flyer and be like, oh yeah, that's the same picture from the last joint. I'm gonna show up. No, but if all my homies said, yo, you making the move tonight? We all headed over here. Man, let me pull up.
Yeah, I've never been to a club just because of the flyer.
The power of the invite.
Yeah.
Now, part of the way we actually, if I can be like nerd out a little bit, right? Part of the way we embed that into the culture is a psychological concept created in the book called The Power of Habits. So The Power of Habits by Charles Duhigg, he talks about what's called the habit loop.
Okay.
And that if you can create a habit for people, it comes natural. One of the things he talks about in the book with the habit loop is that you have to have cues before you go through a routine that leads to a reward. What we often don't do in church is give people a cue by which to share. So here's what we'll do. We may give somebody an invite card, right? Say we want everybody in our church to have 5 invite cards. Here's the cue. We say, if anybody this week says, man, I'm tired of this job, that's your cue to give them an invite card to church. People say that's so dumb. That doesn't make any sense.
That makes all the sense to me.
It's a mental cue.
Yeah.
We'll say, hey, you at the gym. Somebody be like, one more set, or whatever.
Yeah.
We give people things that you hear in your everyday life. Be like, man, I'm so tired of these kids' homework. Cool. And you know what I should do? I should probably invite them to church. And you have no idea, just giving people the cue, how much that helps them remember to be a part of the routine to invite people. So that's one big thing that we've done. Continuously keeping the onus on the people. Naturally, social media, we've tried to progress with that year by year. We have a great communication director here named Devin.
Shout out Devin.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I be conversing with him online. So.
Devin's amazing, man. He's a genius and a visionary. And if you don't know Devin, you need to know him. We've also had the luxury throughout the years of having one of our good friends, Antonio Knox, be a part of what we've been building here. Both of them have just created content for us that also helps to get the message out over the years. And that's been a huge asset to what we do. So, I mean, building that out and me learning. So I'm the one who's been behind on social media, contrary to popular belief. Me learning that social media is not just about access to information, but access to engagement, right?
Engagement is the biggest thing.
So I've had to learn that over the years and still learning it. And that's a big part of what we do to market. And I would say the last thing we do is we try to ensure that we have targeted communication. So sometimes that looks like, our email distribution list. Sometimes that looks like, getting people in the building for one thing so that we can keep, momentum.
Keep them there for the
other things. Yeah. But that's kind of the 3 layers of what we try to do.
Okay. So I noticed that your content is completely different than your standard church. How big has changing up the look or changing up the feel of the content that you put out lead to, growth in the church, lead to new members? Like, how does that work for you?
Man, interestingly enough, we know this from we track the data. I would say 90% of our new members, people who join our family and community, come from people who either said, I saw y'all on social media. Online somewhere, or somebody invited me.
Okay.
And I say that to say, to your point, particularly around social media and online engagement, digital engagement is the new front door. It's not even just the front door, it's the foyer.
Yeah. You're in the house.
Yeah, it's the door and you're in the house.
Right.
And before, I would dare say most people won't even decide to visit your church before they've watched your church.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Gone are the days where you just randomly come up to a church and like, all right, I'm here now.
And gone are the days where you're looking for your neighborhood church.
Yeah.
Because we got to remember 50, 60 years ago, in which, again, honoring the heritage and tradition of my predecessors, pastors who pastored through the 60s and the 70s, that was a time when you moved into a neighborhood and you went to the church in the neighborhood.
Right.
You weren't just hopping in the car and gassing up the car. Those churches that are in neighborhoods now, it's because that was the neighborhood church. Gone is the day.
Yeah.
Now it's like, what church within 30 minutes of me do I most connect with? And if you're not even within 30 minutes of me, what church do I most resonate with? And I will sacrifice to either watch it or attend it when I can, because this is in alignment with my heart. So, yeah, social media has definitely helped us grow in digital engagement. I will also say that one of the other things that has really been critical for us is making sure that we're trying to constantly, again, engage in conversation and put out meaningful content that helps tell not only our story, but people's story, which is something I think people are going to see a lot more of this year as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
Ain't doing no work.
What exciting passing doing with one-on-one?
Yeah, man. They go Dev right there. Dev on with shot, man.
Hey.
Look at that, yeah.
What's going on?
He said he gonna need a little B-roll from the service.
He said he could need some B-roll, Dad.
What's going on, brother? How's everything, man? Yes, sir. We had to make it happen, yeah?
So this spot is actually one of the most recent spaces we just renovated as well, or completed a renovation on. And it's our co-working space. So this is where we all kind of get work done. It's an opportunity for us to kind of engage. We just kind of had a conversation in here, as you can see. But all of our team kind of gathers and we work together, collaborate, and build for the future. So great time. And we put a lot of our phrases on the walls to remind us of not only what we're doing, but who we are. So one of our phrases, our core values is we are better together. So this is just a reminder to us always, like, hey, we need each other. We are better when we put all of our gifts together, working geniuses, our personalities, we're better together.
All right, so let's get into the how-to round, or random question round, speed round. And these questions, they're not necessarily the first thing that comes to mind, but, just kind of give what, pops up for you.
Sweet.
All right. Biggest lesson that you've learned in the last year?
If you want to be successful at anything, you have to determine what you're willing to fail at. Bishop Kim Brown told me that almost a decade ago. And I've learned, biggest lesson I've learned, is that you're going to have to determine that you're not going to win at everything to be successful at the things you're called to be great at. So,
and you have to be cool with the things that...
You got to be cool with not being great at everything. Here's the thought that I would attach to that. You can either do a few things great or a lot of things average. Choose.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
All right. How important is it to having a good partner in what you do? And I say partner, like spouse, whatever.
It's everything. Because if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be a pastor, if you're going to be a visionary of any kind, who you consider refuge is critical to your ability to sustain the marathon. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
True.
Right? But if you don't have what we call a reservoir of joy, a place to find refuge, a place to be refueled, a place to be vulnerable, a place to lick your wounds and expose your failures, you'll never have the energy to sustain the race.
Is it possible to do what you do without your wife being there with you?
Tricky question. Is it possible? Yes.
Okay.
Is it healthy? No.
Okay.
Yeah. And I want to also make sure we don't miss somebody who's saying, what if I don't have a partner?
Yeah.
That you still need a circle.
Yeah.
You still need an environment where you can find joy and refuge and sanctuary, because that fuels you, right? Being a leader of any kind pulls from you.
True.
If you have no place where you're getting poured into you, you're gonna run empty.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. What is something that you spent the most money on that has led to the highest return?
Ooh, good staff.
Okay.
Good staff. You can have all the technology in the world. We got a $100,000 audiovisual system and LED wall. We got all that.
Yeah.
If you don't got good people, you ain't
It's all
going.
for nothing.
Best investment I've ever made is into good people being around me.
Okay. All right. When starting a church, what is the first hire that you need to make?
I'm gonna give two answers on this. I'm gonna cheat because it depends a lot on your personality.
Yeah.
I'm not administratively minded, so I'm visionary all day,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna miss all the details and logistics. So I think, on one hand, you either need somebody who is great at systems,
Okay.
because you can cast all the vision in the world. Front door, attraction, come in.
Yeah.
But if you don't have great systems, back door, retention, people are gonna walk in and they're gonna love you and they're gonna walk out because you had no system to keep them.
Right.
So I would say a systems person all day. Or there are a lot of people that people wouldn't assume, pastors who are not great with the front end, right? Like, so they can speak, but they're introverts.
Yeah.
They need a lot of time to recover. If you're that, then you need somebody who is a galvanizer. And that, basically, you need somebody who can rally the people, keep people excited, engage.
Okay.
Because in the beginning, you got to have those two elements.
Yeah.
I was a galvanizer.
Yeah.
I could rally people, I could excite people, but I messed up on the systems. You got some leaders who are great systems people. So they're like, yeah, I can speak, but then I'm focusing on the systems.
Right,
But if you don't got nobody pulling people, loving on people, getting people excited, getting people brought into the vision. If I could tell this quick story.
Yeah, go for it.
I studied Instagram one time.
Okay.
And at the beginning of Instagram, the first 2 or 3 hires were all coders. They were people who
Yeah.
did coding.
Right.
The first hire they ever made outside of coding was a lady who was called their community evangelist. Fact check it. Look it
Okay.
up. She was their community evangelist.
All right.
Her job was to get people excited in the community, so use Instagram. So if you're going to be the systems person, that's great. Get somebody who's a community evangelist, who makes people excited about what you're building. And if you're great at that, get somebody who helps you with the systems. That should be your first hire.
Gotcha. Okay.
Don't hire you.
Yeah. I know people that do that and it makes no sense because.
Hire what you're not.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
All right. What is one thing you wish people knew about you?
I'm human. That sounds so crazy, man, but I think most people place pastors on a pedestal. I think most people assume that somehow we become less human in our fatigue, in our emotions, in our own questioning. And I think that I wish more people saw not only my humanity, but pastors' humanity.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about immorality, but I do think more leaders in the Christian world need the space to be human. Because, I always heard somebody say this: people will follow your righteousness, but they will connect with your humanity.
Okay.
Don't lose your humanity.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Advice to young pastors, and I want to make this 2-part. Advice on actually, doing the pastoral thing, but also in building or growing a church.
Advice. The first one I already gave.
Yeah.
Build a team,
Right.
because you can't do it all alone.
Right.
Build a great team. That's number 1. Number 2, stop moving so fast.
Okay.
You're doing too much. Right?
Yeah.
One of the biggest, I don't have many regrets. One of the biggest regrets I've had over the early parts of my leadership is I sometimes allowed the pace and pressure externally to move me quicker than the pace of my own purpose and my own vision.
Okay.
So you're probably doing too much. Slow down.
Yeah.
You're not in a race against anybody. You're not racing against people. Right? You're racing with God. Let him set the pace. Right?
Gotcha.
So I would say, build a great team. Find your pace, right? Probably doing too much. Slow down. You don't have to accomplish all of it in an instant. And the third thing I probably tell any young pastor is find a place to be human.
Okay.
Because the people probably won't let you first. They need you to be something for them.
All right.
You need to find some place where nobody needs you to be anybody but you.
Makes sense.
That's how you finish strong.
Makes sense. Okay. Got like two more.
Go for it.
Yeah, what do you want your legacy to be when it's all said and done?
Man, I would say I want my legacy to be joy is a choice and fear is a liar.
Okay.
Here's why I say those things. I think what cancer taught me was that there were a lot of people who were losing limbs, losing preferred routines, losing comforts and conveniences. Well, in that cancer hall, we all made a decision each day whether to smile or not.
Yeah.
And it showed me that we can choose joy. It is not something given to us. It is something we choose when we wake up and say, everything may not be ideal. Everything might not be the way I want, but joy is my choice. So choose joy, and fear is a liar. So many times in life, we don't experience the fulfillment we desire because we let fear drive instead of being in the back seat. I've never done anything in faith that hasn't had fear attached to it. The question is not if you will be afraid.
Right.
The question is, how much control do you give fear on the journey to what you've been called to become?
That's tough right there. I think that's the perfect way to end this up. Yeah, so I like that a lot. Okay. All right, so we went through this whole interview, kind of went through your whole story and everything. What is next for you, or what do you got coming up?
Man, two big things that I want everybody to be aware of. Number one, feel free to always check us out at the lifechurchrva.org, online, social media, the Life Church RVA. You know, join us for a service if you're ever in Richmond. And we just launched a brand new campus
in DC,
in the DMV. Yeah, so we up there. So we on Saturdays at 5 in the DMV, Sundays at 9, 11:15 here. We love to see you online or in person. I also just released on my birthday, January 5th, brand new book called Square One. It's all about finding the courage to start over, stay strong, and shape your future. This book is near and dear to my heart. The last couple of years have been difficult for us all. Unknowns, uncertainties, and it felt like square one. We had a vision board, took 2 steps forward, took 3 steps back. But what I believe and what this book is all about is that square one, no matter when it shows up in your life, is not just a place for you to wait for the future. It's a place for you to work on your future. So how do we find the courage to start over and not let that defeat us, but to actually stay strong on our journey and shape the future that we all know God has waiting for us? So hoping everybody go grab it. It's on Amazon. Just type in Vernon Gordon, Square One. You can also find it on our church website. And you can always stop by and get a copy from your live. But
all right, cool. Well, I definitely appreciate you taking the time out your busy day to allow me to come in here, have this quick little sit-down conversation with you, as well as take us on a tour of, you know, all the things that you got going on here at the Life Church. So once again, I appreciate you, and thank you. If you guys haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to their YouTube, go to their Instagram, follow that. Pretty much just whatever the Life Church has going on, make sure you follow that because they're doing a lot of great things. So, and if you haven't done so already, make sure you follow me. You know, while you're here on my channel, you might as well follow me as well. So,
please.
Airway Shad Harris, and therebelsociety.com. So that's pretty much all I got. So you guys stay safe, and you guys have a good one. Y'all be blessed.